Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to be taking a look at Firefly Misbehavin. This is a deck building game by Jack Rita. It's 2 to 4 players. 14 plus plays in about 60 plus minutes. And we're going to take a look at how you play this game, as well as I'll give you some of my final thoughts at the end of the video. Big thanks to Galeforce 9 for sending this out for review. If you want to check them out, I'm going to have links down in the video description below, so you can find out links to Galeforce 9, also more of my links, social media, and all that good stuff it's all down there. Also, if you like what you see, I'd love to have you stick around. Click that like button, subscribe button, all that good stuff. We have giveaways that happen all the time to subscribers who leave comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about Firefly Misbehavin. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this game. So Firefly Misbehavin is a asymmetrical deck builder, and what that means is you're going to take control of one of 4 decks to start your game, and you can either play as the Alliance, the bad guys, the Hands of Blue 2x2. You can play as Badger and the Eaves Down crew. It's kind of his gang at the beginning of the show, remember? Or you remember Niska? The Niska crew. You can play as those really rough dudes. He likes to cut people's body parts off with the knife, as indicated by their little knife system or knife icon here. You can also play as Malcolm Reynolds and the crew of the Serenity, and you're starting out kind of like as kind of Mal without most of his crew, because you're gonna have Zoe in here, but you're not gonna have everybody else. You're gonna have to find some of those people throughout the deck building process, but maybe you want to get to them before other people do, which is pretty interesting. And so all of these decks are going to be a little bit different. You're also going to have a tableau, and the tableaus are asymmetrical as well. Now they do have a side A and a side B, so if you want to play with them a little bit more standardized, you can totally do that. But yeah, the tableau is kind of how you're going to win the game. During your turn, you're going to be buying a card, and you're also going to be basically taking actions. You're going to be able to play like 1 card down. And basically what you want to do is you want to have power. Depending on how many people you have in the game, to win, you want to start your turn with at least 11 power for a 4-player game, 12 for a 3-player game, or 13 power for a 2-player game in your tableau. Now, power is represented by this little golden number at the bottom left of these cards. So this being an asset, I could potentially play the Serenity down here in the asset section. I couldn't play it down in the character section or in an item section, but since I have a lot of room for assets, I can certainly make this happen over here. And now that's going to count as 3 towards my 13 or 11, or depending on whatever our victory condition is. And so my opponents are going to be able to see that. Some of the things you're going to be doing when you're playing down cards is going to be getting more money, or buying more cards, or doing fighting against other people's cards that are on their tableau, to kind of steal them or to nab them. You can nab a character or a ship or something like that and put it into your deck. So you can actually have other people's cards directly from their tableau and steal them and put them into your deck if you have enough firepower to win the fight. So that is one of the things that you're going to be doing. But the first thing you got to do is pick a deck. And then and those 2 people are going to have the same deck. And then you're going to shuffle your deck. It's got 10 cards, like a lot of deck builders tend to have, and you're going to draw 5. So if you've played deck builders before, the beginning of this might feel pretty familiar to you. But we're also going to be, I'm going to talk about the 2 sections that you have 2 sections of cards that you're going to be buying stuff from. So let's take a look at those. So we're going to have 2 different boards that each have cards on them. And first I want to talk about the supply. Now the supply over here is more of the static board, where if you buy a card, like if I wanted to buy a shiny, there's going to be another shiny behind it. And they're always going to be shinies. The board even tells you, hey, this is always going to be a shiny. Same thing goes with the black. These are kind of bad cards that will go into your deck that don't really help you get any, they don't have any power or influence, and they don't cost anything. You don't buy these cards. These are some bad things are going to put these into your deck. So these are cards that you don't want, but they're going to appear in every game as well. You have 4 other spots. Like for example, if I wanted to buy a Misbehave, this one's not always a Misbehave. It can be any fight card, and then these are used for combat. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But every time I buy a Misbehave, there's going to be another one behind it until they run out. And that's what's unique about the supply board, is that every pile of cards has the same card underneath it. Now, so shiny and the black are going to be the same for every game, but these bottom 4 can change up, and there's different episode cards that can give you an idea of how to how to kind of build everything. Like this one should have Misbehave, Palavar, Full Burn, and Crazy Ivan, for example. So you can build up, you can set it up your own way, or you can follow one of the episode cards that are going to have some of their own little extra rules variations, as well as specific supply setups. And these are going to have all different things that let you, play, basically you can play a card for its effect. They also have their own power and then their own influence values. So those are all going to be useful for your deck. But then we have our core deck, our border deck, and our rim deck over here. And these are going to be a little bit different because once you buy one of these, another card is going to come out. So we've got Inara Sarah over here, and she's going to cost 6 to get. She's also going to have the ability to make deals. She's going to have 2 power and 2 influence. And so that's all the things. And these things are going to make more sense. She's also got symbols over here that are going to represent that if she's going to be a little bit easier to get if you're playing Mal and this crew of the Serenity, which is going to be good. Certain characters, granted, anybody can pick her up, but she's got, if you're Mal, you're going to have a slightly easier time trying to get her. So it basically means that you can use influence when making a deal, which is pretty nice. So when we are buying a card, so let's say I were to recruit in our Sarah, she would go into our discard pile. Then another card will then come out, and there we go. We've got Sinahan, a planet. If we were to buy the Asarev, the next card in the core deck would come out. Oh, look at that, it's Shepherd Book. So we have a lot of different characters from the game that are in here. And then we have a different deck for the border deck. The border deck is going to have other cards that come out to replace all of the cards that come out. Same thing with the rim deck. That's basically our library of being able to recruit and make deals for cards. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about taking your turn. So there's another thing that we can do also on our turn, and that is to get verse tokens. Now these are going to be, depending on your faction, you're going to have 6 of these that are available, and these let you do all kinds of extra things on your turn. One of the most important things they let you do is get extra activations. Activations are basically your biggest actions when you're taking your turn. In some games that lets you like play a card and then buy a card, and other deck builders think of an activation as kind of how you play a card. It's how you get cards in your tableau, or it's how you activate a card that's already in your tableau. It's how you do a fight. It's how you also make a deal. And so, but you can only normally get one activation. So having verse tokens lets you, get extra activations, lets you draw cards, lets you get an extra recruitment, which is how you get cards. It's at least one way how you get cards. It also lets you retain a card that gets used. When you use a card, it'll go up into your display area. And so sometimes you have a card in your tableau, like maybe I have Mal Reynolds in my tableau, and I want to use him for maybe his influence or his power, or I want to use him in a fight. If I can retain him, then he gets to go back to my tableau afterwards. Otherwise, he has to go to my discard pile, and then I have to wait until he gets shuffled in and I draw him again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a kind of a sample first turn. I'm going to use my activation to play a card. And I'll play a card, and then I can buy a card. Now, also, when I play a card with my activation, I do get to, if it has this little lightning bolt symbol here, I get to exhaust it automatically, or trigger is what they call it. So I can kind of turn him sideways so he gets to triggered, and I can discard from my hand to gain credits equal to its power. We're going to start off with 1 credit. Credits look like these little $100 bill bucks. So we start off with 1. So Mal, I could maybe discard this card from my hand that has 1 power. I could discard that card and gain credits equal to its power. So now I'll have an extra credit. So that's going to be my activation. And then I get a recruitment. And the recruitment is pretty interesting because I can take cards from my hand and I can try and buy a card. So I can put Zoe up in my display area, and then this Frontier Model B up in my display area. They have a combined influence of 2, and I can use that to buy the shiny here, which costs 2, and it's going to be its cost in the top right. And so that'll go in my discard pile, and whatever's left over in my hand, I'll just discard and then draw 5 new cards. Anytime I'm required to draw, but I cannot, I'll then shuffle my discard pile, create a new library, and then draw the remainder from it. And then at the end of my turn, I'm going to ready any cards that are exhausted, and that would be the end of my turn. Now, on a future turn, I could also try to, and I could have tried to do it this turn, I just didn't have enough. But I can also try to get a verse token. You can try to get 1 verse token per turn as well, and it's going to be different for every faction. So for me, I have to have at least 1 untriggered character in my tableau, and then I have to discard untriggered cards from my hand or my tableau with a total power of at least 4. That's going to get me 1 token. So you want to try and do these as often as you can, and you can do this in any order. So I can say, oh, all right, Mal has to be untriggered. Okay, let me discard some cards. I get my token. Then afterwards, for my activation, I can then discard. I can then activate Mal to use his effect or to do something like that. And everybody's going to want these tokens. Alliance, for example, they have a totally different set. Instead of 4 power, they want to discard with 2 power and 2 influence. And so each of the factions has their own little distinct differences. So then at the end of my turn, I'm going to draw 5 new cards, and now I've got the Serenity coming out. So if I play that on my next turn, I'm going to have up to 5 power showing on my board already. And that's going to be pretty nice. And let's just fast forward a little bit and say I had recruited some other folks, and I've got Shepherd Book and Saffron out here. I could potentially play them as well on future turns. And I could start, well, actually, no, they'd have to go down here to where characters are. I can't play characters up, and they're going to say what they are right there. If I wanted to play, this standard Radion Accelerator Core, that is going to be an item, so I'm going to have to play that over here. Notice that I have this slot here that can be a character or an item. I can play either or right there, but I'll put the item right here and leave this slot available for a flex. Let's say we're fast forwarded to about maybe turn 6 or so, and I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 power. I'm pretty close to hitting 11 if we're in a 4-player game. Somebody may want to do a fight with me, so let's talk about how fights work. All right, so I'm going to say I'm playing the Alliance also, and so the Alliance player during their turn is going to, for their activation, they're going to go ahead and lay down the Tohoku class cruiser, which has a fight symbol on there, which means it can be used to start a fight. And then once you're in a fight, you're going to use your power as if you're the attacker. If you're the defender, you're gonna ignore that. You're gonna be looking at that if you're the defending character. So he's going to lay this particular symbol down here on Mal, and he's going to say either he wants to nab him or just get rid of him. So basically, you can, if you want Mal to be able to go into your hand, or I'm sorry, into your deck if you defeat him, then you'll try and nab him. If for some reason you don't want him, you can just say, all right, if I defeat him, he's going to get discarded. That's something you might do if I had maybe a card that just really would interfere with the kind of mechanics or the engine that you have going in your deck, and you just don't want it to go into your hand and screw things up, but you want it gone from my tableau. That's a way to do it. So I'm going to put this over here so we can compare power a little bit easier. So this is 3 power, but that wouldn't be enough to beat Mal's 5. Now ties will go to the attacker, so I could lay down a Marine. The Marine has +1 power when used in a fight with other Marines in my display area. Now the display area is going to be actually on top of the board, so I would have this guy out, and they'd be on top of his board. But I'm just moving it to the side so you can see. And then I'd play another Marine. Now that would give me a power of 2, 4, 7. Now that is going to beat Mal Reynolds. So Mal Reynolds is going to have 5 versus the 7 that they have here. But now as the defender, I can lay down a card, and maybe I'll lay down Zoe. Now Zoe has power of 2. She's going to help. Now she was in my hand, and I kind of wanted to keep her available for next round. But you know what? I've got to use her now, otherwise I'm going to lose Mal. So she's got to come out. And so, because at the end she's gonna kind of go into the recycle area, so I won't be able to have her again until I'm able to draw her again. But she's gonna come out, and that's gonna boost Mal up to 7, which isn't quite enough. Then I'm also gonna play a Misbehavin from my hand. This is one that I bought maybe earlier in the game, and this one has a power of 4, really strong card. Now you can only lay down cards that have the fight symbol. So if, for example, I had "You Can't Take the Sky From Me," it doesn't have the fight symbol in there, it's not going to help in this particular case. So I'll play Misbehave. Now all of a sudden I have more. Mal can stay. If the Alliance player had any additional fight cards, they could lay them down, but let's say they don't, and of course that's where the fight ends. If they did, they could lay them down, and we'll go back and forth until one player decides to stop. And then we add up, compare power. Again, ties go to the attacker. In this case, Mal wins the fight. He gets to stay here. Now, there's a couple of things that I can do. I can try to spend verse to retain somebody. If I, again, reference your little verse token thing here. So if I've got any verse tokens that I haven't spent yet, I can spend some to retain somebody that got thrown up here. So if I wanted Zoe to go back in my hand, or if Saffron maybe joined the fight, then I could potentially pull her back down into my tableau so she wouldn't be discarded. But then at the end of the fight, whoever won is going to get some cool stuff. So you can get basically a verse token, you can get money, or you can draw a card. So that's cool. So you get something else, even if you're the defender, you still get a prize for winning beyond just being able to keep your character. But fighting is going to become inevitable to stop somebody from getting their power threshold to win. So let's say I want to get cards. I want to go ahead and do my recruit step. I'll be laying down cards from my hand or from my tableau, but I'd rather use my hand because I want to keep cards out in the tableau. Equal to the purchase cost, which let's say I want to buy Vera, that's Jane's rifle. It's a pretty nice thing. It's got the fight symbol, it's got 3 power, and it works well if I can get Jane, and maybe since I'm playing the crew of the Serenity, I want to get Jane. But I'll be laying down cards up here in the display area with combined influence equal to that value, and then all of a sudden I'll be able to get that. That is the recruit step. I get to do one of those per turn, and then they'll all go into my recycle bin. So any purchased stuff goes straight into the recycle bin. We'll refresh that and buy that. Now, if I don't want to use recruit, maybe I want to be able to get another card. For my activation, again, you start off with only one of those, I can try to make a deal. And the deal part is pretty cool. Any card that has this deal symbol, this blue symbol here, can go up to your display area. Again, that's being used, and this counts as your activation. They can try and make a deal. Now, with a deal, you can use influence, or you can also use credits, and that's why it's nice to get some of the extra credits, because sometimes you're going to want to get more than one card in a turn, since you can still use your recruitment also. But all of a sudden now Mal gets to be like, well, I've got 2, and plus this, now I can also get Deadwood as well. Now the cool thing about this is this goes straight into my hand. So this is especially useful if, for example, maybe there was a firefight coming up. I wanted things to be in my hand. I wanted something else to be able to, or maybe I wanted to buy a card that had good influence value to use on my recruit step. I could also do that. So sometimes you want cards to go straight into your hand. Sometimes you want them to go, you can afford to wait for them to go into your recycle, so they'll eventually go back into your library, because your recycle area is basically your discard. So let's say I end my turn this way, somebody tries to fight me and fails, but either way, if it comes back again to the beginning of my turn, and I have, in this case, if it's a 4-player game, I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, then I'd have enough to win the game, because in a 4-player game, you just need 11 to win. It becomes harder to win in a 4-player game, though, because everybody else will see your totals and will be trying to fight you or otherwise stop you from hitting that victory condition. And so, that's where the strength of this game really kind of shows its complexity, and that multiplayer aspect is everybody trying to keep everybody else down to keep them from becoming the winner. I also want to point out certain cards, like, for example, Misbehave. While it's a very strong card, it has 4 power, it's an action. So while it can help you win firefights, it doesn't have any place to go on your board. You don't have a spot for actions. So while it's really strong in a fight, it's not going to help you win the game. So there's always that balance on cards that can go in onto your board, and then cards that can really only be played from your hand. So that's an interesting aspect of it. And the game itself has a lot of iconic characters and locations and ships and technology. It definitely kind of captures that feel, and all of the characters that you know and love. Like, look, there's Jane and Kaylee, for example. So you can have a lot of them accessible. Notice that Kaylee is a little bit easier to get on the Serenity, but Jane will go any which way. He works equally good for anybody in the game. And I think that is a kind of a cool way to kind of express the theme. So that's a look at Firefly Misbehavin. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Be sure to let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know who your favorite character from Firefly is, if you are a fan of the show. Now, as for the game itself, I think it's actually a fairly quick playing deck builder. It doesn't have quite a whole lot of downtime in between. So that's definitely a positive. The turns can play pretty quickly. You don't find yourself really waiting on somebody else as often as you do in a lot of other games that can play up to 4. So that's definitely something in its favor. Definitely wins on the IP theme because, heck, who doesn't love Firefly? I'm a big fan of the show. Wish it would have had more, right? Wish it would have had more seasons. But yeah, no, fantastic show, and so it's really cool to see all of those beloved characters show up in the game. And it plays pretty much like I would have expected from a deck builder, with a few key differences that kind of make its gameplay stand out on its own. But ultimately, I feel like it's a fun game, and I like the fact that it plays 2 players pretty quickly, and then 3 and 4 players with a little bit more of that cutthroat feel that some other deck builders don't offer. As far as, maybe cons, I would say that it might not be hitting on all cylinders for some people who are expecting more of a pick up and deliver type of aspect that you can sometimes expect from, a franchise like Firefly. So some people might worry that it doesn't translate as well, from Firefly to a deck builder, when there's already maybe Firefly the board game, which is also available from Galeforce 9, that has more of that pick up and deliver, that will capture that spirit a little bit more. So this one it's a little more abstract, and that could be a little bit problematic. Plus, the fact that there is fighting and PvP aspect in this could be a turnoff for some people, although that doesn't bother me. It kind of allows for a little bit of counterplay and a little bit of mind games, but it can potentially leave you with a feels-bad scenario when you were on the verge of winning maybe 3 turns in a row, and each time somebody stopped you and you weren't able to kind of hold off all of their advances. So there is that aspect as well, which can happen. But ultimately, I think it's a charming game, and I think if you're a big fan of Firefly, you definitely have to check it out. So again, head over to Galeforce 9. I'll put a link down in the description below, and you can check out Firefly Misbehavin for yourself. Plus, there are a lot of additional rules and variables and things that you can add to the game to change it up, like reavers and things like that I didn't even get into in this video. So be sure to check those out, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on Firefly Misbehavin, coming soon from Galeforce 9. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Again, big thanks to Galeforce 9 for sending this out for review. I will talk to you guys later. I want to thank you so much for watching. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. So say we all. Be excellent to each other. You can't take the sky from me. And have a great day. We're going to be taking a look at Firefly Misbehaving. This is a misbehaving. There's a G on the end. What is going on, everybody? Today we're going to be in